Late one night in Paris, Driss is driving his employer Philippe through the city. Bored of waiting in traffic, Driss speeds up, weaving recklessly between cars and ignoring traffic rules. Soon, police begin chasing them, and Driss bets €100 that he can lose the cops. After a few daring moves, he drives under a bridge, but the police catch up and block them from both sides. Driss doesn't seem worried and doubles down, betting €200 that he can get them an escort instead. When the officers make him step out, he pretends to be offended and explains that Philippe is paralyzed and he's rushing him to the hospital. The cops check the vehicle and find a wheelchair in the trunk. When they approach Philippe, he fakes a seizure, convincing them it's an emergency. Sympathetic, the police decide to escort the car to the hospital instead of arresting them. To celebrate winning the bet, Driss blasts "September" by Earth, Wind and Fire, and after they reach the destination, he shares a smoke with Philippe as soon as the officers leave. Before hospital staff can notice them, Driss promises to take care of everything and drives away. This unlikely friendship actually began many months earlier. Philippe and his assistant Magali are conducting interviews for a new caretaker, but every applicant gives dull or overly polite answers. Suddenly, Driss barges in before his turn. He only wants them to sign a paper stating they won't hire him so he can claim unemployment benefits. He's direct, bold, and even flirts with Magali, but Philippe finds his attitude amusing and tells him to come back the next day for his signed papers. Driss returns home to a cramped apartment in a poor neighborhood, where his younger siblings constantly bother him as he tries to take a bath. His older sister Mina helps manage the kids and keeps things under control. While waiting for their mother, Driss notices his brother Adama stepping out of a suspicious car. When questioned, Adama claims he was at school and quickly leaves again with his bag, raising Driss's suspicions. That evening, their mother arrives home. Driss gifts her a Faberge egg he had stolen and lies, saying he's been on vacation. She's furious. He disappeared for 6 months without a word and now returns as if nothing happened. Tired of his excuses and needing to care for the other children, she kicks him out and tells him never to return. Driss spends the night smoking and eating snacks with his neighborhood friends. The next morning, Driss returns to Philippe's mansion for his signed paper. The housekeeper, Yvonne, greets him, gives him a tour of the luxurious home, and explains Philippe's daily schedule. She also shows him the bedroom he would have, complete with a private bathroom. Driss can't help staring at the huge bathtub before she pulls him away to meet Philippe, who hands him the paper but also offers him a job. Driss agrees to a 1-month trial, and Philippe bets he won't last 2 weeks. After moving in, Driss begins training for his new duties, stimulating Philippe's legs, transferring him to the wheelchair, bathing him, and dressing him. He's horrified when he learns he'll also need to put on compression stockings and clean Philippe after using the toilet, but despite all his protests, he eventually accepts it as part of the job. Later that evening, while eating a snack on the roof, Driss is interrupted by Philippe's daughter Elisa and her boyfriend Bastien, who are looking for a private place to make out. Driss refuses to share his beer and kicks them out. In time, Driss becomes accustomed to Philippe's routine, though he makes a few mistakes along the way, like handing him the phone instead of holding it to his ear or forgetting the baby monitor while bathing him. He learns how to sort Philippe's mail into folders. Some letters he opens himself, but others are private, especially a set Philippe tells him never to touch. When Driss finds a flyer advertising female escorts, instead of throwing it out, he creates a new file for them, jokingly adding it to Philippe's system. Despite his work, Driss still finds time for fun. He repeatedly flirts with Magali, though she always rejects him, and sometimes hires escorts for himself. One morning, Yvonne scolds him for waking up late and notices weapons in his bag. She doesn't say anything yet. That day, Driss drives Philippe around but refuses to place him in the back of a van like cargo. Instead, he takes one of Philippe's luxury cars. At first, Philippe protests, preferring practicality, but he soon enjoys the thrill of a faster, more exciting ride, though Yvonne disapproves. As they try to leave the building, a neighbor has blocked the entrance despite a "no parking" sign. Driss confronts the man, grabs him by the shirt, and threatens him until he moves the car. Philippe is impressed, while Yvonne frowns. They later visit a museum, where Philippe plans to buy an expensive abstract painting that Driss dismisses as a meaningless red blotch. Afterward, Philippe's relative warns him that Driss is dangerous and has a criminal record. But Philippe doesn't care. He likes that Driss treats him like an equal and doesn't pity him. That night, Driss eats dinner with Yvonne while Philippe dictates a letter to Magali. When Yvonne turns off the baby monitor, she explains that the letters are for a woman named Eleanor, Philippe's pen pal. They've never met, their relationship exists only through letters. Before bed, Driss teases Yvonne about the gardener who seems interested in her. Later that night, he hears strange noises from the baby monitor, Philippe is having breathing trouble. Unable to ignore him, Driss rushes in, gently calms him through the episode, and wipes his face with a damp cloth. When Philippe wakes again and says he needs fresh air, Driss immediately wheels him outside for a nighttime stroll by the river. It's Philippe's first time seeing Paris at night in ages. Feeling relaxed, he explains that medicine helps only so much, he still suffers phantom pains. They spot some women walking by, and Philippe admits that though he can't be physically intimate, he still feels pleasure through ear massages, which are highly sensitive for him. When phantom pain starts again, Driss offers him a joint. Philippe hesitates but ends up enjoying it. Afterward, they stop at a restaurant, joking over dinner as Philippe opens up about his past, how he met his wife during college, their 5 miscarriages, and her terminal illness that led them to adopt Elisa. Philippe loved speed and competition, and during a paragliding session, a storm caused him to crash and break his vertebrae. He says his real handicap isn't the wheelchair but living without his wife. By the end of their talk, Philippe realizes Driss has completed his 1-month trial and officially hires him, on the condition that he returns the stolen Faberge egg, which had been a yearly gift from his wife. He has 25, representing each year they were together. The following day, Driss meets Mina outside her school. She's upset because he only replies to her messages when he needs something, like asking her to find the missing egg. She also mentions that the police have been calling their house. Later, Driss visits Adama, who admits he was caught with 30 grams of drugs. Driss offers to take him to lunch, but Adama refuses and jumps into the same suspicious car from before. Sometime later, Driss listens as Philippe dictates another letter to Eleanor. Driss finds the poetic language dull and urges him to be more straightforward. He's shocked to learn Philippe and Eleanor have been writing for 6 months without ever exchanging photos. When he finds her phone number in one of the letters, Driss takes the initiative and calls her, forcing Philippe to finally speak to her in person. The conversation goes so well that Philippe begins calling her constantly, even during their opera visit, where Driss can't stop laughing at the performers' costumes. The next day, Driss convinces Philippe to exchange photos with Eleanor and chooses one showing Philippe in his wheelchair. Later, while Driss paints in his room, Elisa barges in to ask for cigarettes and mocks his attempt at painting. Angry, he kicks her out, then goes to Philippe, who is asking Yvonne to swap the chosen picture for an older one from before his accident. She hides the original photo in the escort folder just before Driss storms in, complaining about Elisa's attitude and insisting Philippe should discipline her. Yvonne agrees. Philippe promises to talk to her but is surprised to learn Driss has taken up painting. As days pass, their friendship grows stronger. Driss takes Philippe out jogging, sledding, and even buys him his first tailored suit. Philippe finally scolds Elisa, while Driss listens proudly through the baby monitor. When Driss finishes his first painting, he shows it to Magali, but when he tries to kiss her, she slaps him. Philippe, however, likes the artwork and promises to sell it for him. The two men start enjoying life together, faster cars, shared joints, and even jokingly hiring escorts. When Philippe's birthday arrives, he dreads it. Every year, his relatives visit only to check he's still alive, pretending to care. He expects another dull gathering with classical music. Meanwhile, Driss finds Elisa in her room, crying after taking some of Yvonne's pills. She confesses that her boyfriend Bastien dumped her and called her names. Driss comforts her and promises to talk to Bastien, for a price. At the party, Philippe proudly shows Driss's painting to a relative and manages to sell it for 11,000 euros. Driss chats with Yvonne, who mentions that Magali has a partner named Fred, though things aren't going smoothly, giving Driss false hope. When the orchestra finishes, Philippe plays some classical masterpieces for Driss, who jokingly pretends to appreciate them. Then Driss takes out his iPod and puts on Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind and Fire, dancing in the center of the room. His energy is infectious, and soon everyone joins in, while Philippe watches and laughs with joy. That night, while preparing Philippe for bed, Driss opens Eleanor's latest letter. She's finally sent her picture, revealing she's beautiful and suggesting they meet next week when she's in Paris. When the day of the date arrives, Yvonne and Driss spend hours helping Philippe try on suits until they find the perfect outfit. Since Yvonne will accompany Philippe, Driss uses his day off to visit Bastien, scaring him into apologizing to Elisa, bringing her croissants every morning, and fixing his hairstyle. Later, Driss visits his mother at work but doesn't approach her, he just watches her from a distance. At the restaurant, Philippe and Yvonne wait for Eleanor, who runs late. After waiting over an hour, Philippe loses hope, calls Driss to pick him up, and leaves, just as Eleanor arrives, missing him by seconds. That night, Philippe takes Driss on a private plane and surprises him by handing over the 11,000 euros from the painting sale. They land in the countryside the next morning, where Philippe insists they go paragliding. Driss refuses, terrified at first, but once in the air, he finds himself loving the experience. When they return, Adama is waiting at the mansion, sporting bruises on his face. Driss scolds him, demanding to know what's going on, but Adama won't talk. Driss makes him stay in his room, calls Mina to reassure her, then helps Philippe to bed. Philippe, not sleepy, asks Driss to look at a painting with him. He then gently asks about Driss's family. At first, Driss avoids the topic but finally opens up. He explains that Adama isn't really his brother and that the people he calls his parents are actually his aunt and uncle. They brought him from Senegal when he was 8 because they couldn't have children. His real name is Bakary Bassari, but since many kids shared that name, they started calling him Idris, which eventually became Driss. Later, his aunt miraculously conceived children of her own, and after his uncle's death, new men and more kids came into the picture, leaving Driss to grow up feeling out of place. Drawing from their earlier talks about Elisa, Philippe points out that Adama needs proper guidance. He then fires Driss, kindly, telling him to return to his family and take responsibility. He says Driss can't spend his life caring for an old man. The next morning, Bastien shows up with croissants, sporting his new hairstyle. Driss packs his things and prepares to leave. Magali stops by to say goodbye. When Driss flirts one last time, she introduces her partner, Fred, short for Frederic, revealing she's gay. Driss laughs and immediately drops his pursuit. As he leaves, he returns the baby monitor to Yvonne and teases her for lying about Magali's love life just to trick him. She smiles and gives him the escort folder he once made, inside which Driss finds the hidden photo Philippe meant to send Eleanor. He throws the folder away but keeps the picture for himself. Outside, he sees another car blocking the mansion's entrance and, despite no longer working there, orders the driver to move. When Adama teases him, Driss simply says it's a matter of principle. A few hours later, the brothers pick up their mother from the station. While back at Philippe's house, dinner with his new caretaker proves unbearable. The man is stiff, dull, and humorless. Philippe leaves the table without taking a bite. With Yvonne out on a date with the gardener, no one is there to stop him. As days pass, Driss returns to his old neighborhood. He hangs out with his friends again and warns the men in the suspicious car to stay away from Adama. When he goes for a job interview he isn't qualified for, he impresses the employer by calling himself pragmatic and referencing the art knowledge he gained while working for Philippe, landing a position as a driver. Meanwhile, Philippe grows frustrated with his new caretaker and becomes increasingly irritable. One night, he refuses help with his phantom pain, prompting Yvonne to call Driss. That's how they end up in the opening scene, racing through the streets, chased by the police before being escorted to the hospital. Afterward, Driss drives Philippe to the seaside. The peaceful ocean view calms him down. Some time later, Driss trims Philippe's beard, making him look sharp again, and takes him to a restaurant, but doesn't stay, because Philippe has someone else joining him. Before leaving, Driss wishes him luck and returns the Faberge egg. Philippe sits nervously, fearing disappointment, until he sees his date, Eleanor. She smiles warmly, happy to meet him, completely unfazed by his wheelchair. The film closes with the real-life story. The real Count Philippe Pozo di Borgo now lives in Morocco, happily remarried with 2 daughters. The real Driss, named Abdel Yasmin Sellu, runs his own business and is married with 3 children. The 2 men remain close friends to this day.